Hey guys, tonight we stumble into a feast where the table stretches beyond the clouds. Golden goblets clink with shimmering nectar, and the gods, yes, those gods, are arguing over who brought the best hummus. Welcome to the divine banquet of Mount Olympus. You somehow have found yourself invited, or maybe abducted. Jury's out. One moment you're drifting off in bed, the next you're seated on an ivory bench beside Apollo, who smells faintly of sunshine and arrogance. A horned satyr is offering you olives that look suspiciously like tiny eyes. A centaur passes with a tray of steaming mystery pastries. And across the marble floor, Dionysus is doing the limbo with a nymph wearing nothing but moonlight. Standard Tuesday for Olympus. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is right. Now, I'm curious if anyone's tuning in from their own Mount Olympus, aka Grandma's attic, with questionable incense. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You glance down at your plate. It's already full, even though you don't remember touching a thing. There's a golden roll steaming with something that smells like springtime and déjà vu. A small dish of pomegranate seeds glistens like rubies, and in the center, a slice of what looks like cheesecake but pulses faintly as if breathing. You reach for the roll first. Soft, warm, lightly crisped on the edges. As your teeth sink in, the flavor explodes like a parade of flowers dipped in butter. And then it gets weird. You taste memories. Not yours, someone else's. A wedding by a sapphire lake. A child's laughter. A sword being forged under stars. Aphrodite giggles from across the table. "Oops," she whispers. "That one's emotionally infused." You try to respond, but forget what language is. Hermes tosses you a napkin and winks. It flutters down like a feather, somehow absorbing the psychic. Residue now dripping from your chin. You look up and realize no one else is using utensils. Poseidon is slurping his soup directly from a floating shell. Athena is dissecting olives with surgical precision. Ares is stabbing his steak repeatedly, though it's unclear whether for seasoning or sport. You hesitate, then sip from the goblet. It tastes like the color gold, like lightning and honey, like something that would be banned by 3 health departments and a moral committee. Your skin tingles. Your teeth itch. Historians still debate whether ambrosia and nectar were literal foods or metaphors for divine privilege. But right now, you're 90% sure your pancreas just whispered, "This is above my pay grade." There's a theory, brought up by a few rogue scholars, that these mythic substances were based on real psychotropic concoctions used in ancient mystery cults. Things brewed in moonlight, stirred with bones, and absolutely not approved by the FDA. Given how the satyr is now breakdancing beside your chair, you're inclined to believe it. Across the table, Hephaestus offers you a cube of cheese that smokes slightly. You decline. A good call, judging by the tiny explosion it makes in someone else's mouth moments later. Apollo raises his glass to you and says, "First time, huh?" You nod. "Do people usually survive this?" "Define survive," he says, glowing. Faintly, a trumpet sounds, made of silver and what appears to be cloud, and you're informed it's time for the next course. Servants with wings glide over, replacing your plate with something new. It's a salad that appears to be breathing. The croutons blink at you. You are definitely not in Kansas anymore. You stare at the new plate like it might bite you first. The salad is made of greens so vibrant they might be bioluminescent. Slender tendrils of what looks like fennel curl toward your fork with unsettling eagerness. Nestled among the leaves is a sticky golden cube, gleaming like a prize or a warning. Ambrosia, Athena announces dryly, as if you should already know. Locally sourced from the eastern slopes of Olympus, hand-collected from the nectar of heliotrope blossoms, kissed by the morning sun. You nod politely, pretending that makes any sense. The ambrosia is the consistency of something between honeycomb and a lava lamp. You scoop a bit and place it in your mouth. Instantly, your tongue is hit with an overwhelming burst of flavor, like jasmine, mango, and raw electricity. It's delicious in the way a firework is beautiful, impressive, disorienting, and not meant to be consumed orally. Your vision goes a little hazy around the edges. The ceiling seems to recede into the cosmos. You can hear the sound of 1,000 bees, but also the exact recipe for your grandmother's lentil soup. You blink. The gods are watching you, mildly amused. See, ambrosia wasn't exactly designed for humans. In myth, it was the food of immortality, consumed by the Olympians to maintain their divine essence. Mortals who got a taste usually didn't fare so well. Best case, they exploded with light. Worst case, they turned into a puddle of divine regret. Scholars like to interpret ambrosia as a symbol, the unattainable pleasures of the divine, the price of touching eternity. But here you are, chewing it like a stubborn piece of taffy. Historians still debate if ambrosia referred to an actual substance or a poetic metaphor for the intoxicating presence of the gods. One ancient poet claimed it smelled like roses and sunshine. Another said it turned his intestines into philosophical snakes. You start to understand both points of view. You try to speak, but the syllables come out wrong, half in English, half in ancient Aeolian, and a quarter in interpretive hummingbird. Hermes leans over and pats your back. Don't worry, it passes. Or it doesn't. Either way, fun. Suddenly you realize something important. This ambrosia is not gluten-free. You haven't been tested for celiac in years, but the idea that your gastrointestinal fate now depends on ancient flour proteins is sobering. The gods, for all their celestial status, don't exactly cater to modern dietary restrictions. Aphrodite is eating what appears to be a cake shaped like a heart. Literally, a beating one. Artemis crunches into a pine cone like it's a carrot. You push your plate aside, trying not to make eye contact with your salad. It growls softly, disappointed. Somewhere, to your left, Dionysus raises a goblet and yells, "To eternal bad decisions!" A cheer erupts around the hall, and suddenly waiters start parading out trays stacked with the next course. You clutch your chair. The table wobbles slightly as Ares pounds his fist in celebration. Bits of ambrosia launch into the air like confetti. One lands in your lap and begins slowly dissolving through the fabric of your toga. You flick it off, only for it to sprout wings and fly away. As you sit in stunned silence, someone slides into the seat beside you. She's tall, radiant, and humming a lullaby that makes your teeth itch. "I'm Hebe," she says. "Goddess of youth, refiller of cups, part-time barista. Nice to meet you," you manage, still chewing on echoes of immortality. She glances at your plate. "First-timer? Is it that obvious? You haven't tried the fermented moonfruit yet." She hands you a small translucent orb that pulses with a soft glow. "Is it safe?" She shrugs. "Safer than the last guy. He thought it was a jawbreaker, still orbiting Saturn." You put the orb down gently and decide to Breathe deeply, in through the nose, out through the nausea. A curtain flutters open at the edge of the banquet hall. Beyond it, you glimpse a garden glowing in twilight, vines curling around marble statues, and bees the size of papayas drifting lazily through the air. You'll find out soon enough that some of these ingredients were picked under a blood moon, harvested from trees that only bloom during Mercury retrograde. You'll also discover that there is no such thing as an Olympian FDA, and the concept of food safety here is basically, if it doesn't try to kill you, it's probably... For now you sip some water. It tastes like clouds and regret. There's a moment of deceptive calm. The celestial salad has been cleared. You're mentally bracing for the next course, hoping for something like breadsticks or divine mashed potatoes, something familiar, grounded, boring even. Instead, a glowing hand plucks the goblet in front of you and refills it without a pitcher. The liquid inside shimmers with hues not found on any mortal spectrum. It's like someone liquefied a rainbow, added starlight, and topped it off with a splash of cosmic mischief. Nectar, says Hera, not looking up from her embroidery. Sip slowly. You raise the goblet with both hands like it might explode. A cautious taste. It's perfect. Like your favorite fruit, your childhood summers, and winning an argument all at once. Then the aftertaste hits. Your stomach lurches, and your brain briefly forgets what gravity is. See, nectar isn't just divine Kool-Aid. In mythology, it was the drink of the gods, the counterpart to ambrosia. It flowed freely at every feast and supposedly had the power to grant immortality, or at least keep the gods shiny and perpetually smug. The word nectar literally comes from Greek roots, meaning overcoming death, which sounds promising until you realize your mortal digestive system is very much not prepared for this kind of cosmic rebellion. Historians still debate whether nectar and ambrosia were one and the same, or distinct delicacies. Some say they were interchangeable terms for divine sustenance. Others claim nectar was reserved for drinking, while ambrosia was for eating, like the god-tier version of wine and cheese. Either way, you're currently sweating like you just ran a marathon through a lava lamp. You glance at your reflection in the goblet's surface and do a double take. Your pupils are shaped like tiny suns. Your hair is floating. You're pretty sure your ears are humming Vivaldi. "Oh no," mutters Athena. "You drank the whole thing?" "You did. It was delicious. And now reality is twitching." Suddenly your senses explode. The banquet hall stretches infinitely. You can see every dust mote like a planet in orbit. The lyre music becomes visible, floating ribbons of sound swirling through the air. And when you blink, you briefly see everyone as their symbolic archetypes. Asri's a storm of iron, Aphrodite a swirl of rose petals and hunger, Dionysus a dripping grapevine with eyes. You giggle. You can't help it. "Side effects vary," Hermes says, watching you float an inch off your seat. Hestia leans over and pats your arm kindly. "Just ride the wave, dear. One nymph next to you is reciting her poetry to a fig. The fig seems unimpressed. The thing is, this whole divine food and drink setup was never meant for human biology. Your organs are trying to interpret input they were never coded to process. Your liver, normally a reliable background character, has entered a full-blown existential crisis. Curiously, nectar appears in some myths not just as a treat, but as a weapon. There are stories of mortals who consumed it and became disoriented, transformed, or just plain obliterated. One particularly obscure fragment from a lost tragedy describes a man who drank too much and turned into a vineyard, sentient and constantly self-pruning. You're not there yet. but you're close. In the corner, Dionysus is now balancing a goblet on his forehead and doing push-ups. You gotta stay limber for immortality. He yells. A cyclops passes by and hands you a cloth soaked in something called ambrosial neutralizer. You dab your forehead. It sizzles faintly. Your skin stops vibrating in Morse code. Somewhere above, a constellation shifts position to get a better look at you. That can't be good. You decide to focus. Blink, deep breath. Your chair is only semi-floating now. The nectar's effects are slowly fading. Though the chandelier is still singing sea shanties, you're starting to understand why the gods don't share this stuff. Not because they're greedy, but because humans cannot handle it. You are, essentially, running divine code on mortal hardware. Your brain is a potato, and they just installed the software for an alien spaceship. In that brief moment of clarity, you realize that if mortals had regular access to nectar, civilization wouldn't just collapse. It would giggle itself into a reality hole and never return. Apollo toasts in your direction. Survived your first sip? Impressive. Most people hallucinate their tax documents and vanish into philosophical vapor. You smile weakly, cheeks glowing faintly from the inside. Just when you think it's over, a small cherub arrives with a refill. You scream internally. "I'll take water," you whisper. Flat, room temperature, mortally dull. The cherub nods solemnly, pats your head, and vanishes in a puff of scented smoke. The table trembles slightly. Not from an earthquake, but from the arrival of the next dish. You look up just in time to see Zeus himself strolling in with a platter, the size of a smart car, radiating steam and smugness in equal measure. "Thundergilled salmon," he announces, flexing unnecessarily. Caught at the very moment lightning struck the sea. The fish is enormous, its scales shimmering like storm clouds. Sparks still dance across its surface, and you swear it blinks at you. There are olives nestled in the eye sockets. Probably for garnish. You hesitate. "It's traditional," Hera mutters, barely glancing up. "Just don't touch the fins." Zeus lifts a slice with a golden fork and deposits it on your plate. The aroma is immediately intoxicating, smoky, rich, like cedar wood soaked in ocean spray and power. But there's also something electric. The edges of the fish spark faintly. When you touch it with your fork, there's a visible arc of static that jolts your hand. This is how Zeus seasons his meals, with actual lightning. You take a cautious bite. The texture is flawless, tender, buttery, almost too perfect. Then your tongue tingles. A low hum builds in your jaw. Your hair lifts slightly. It's like chewing a battery wrapped in deliciousness. Historians agree that Zeus was a big fan of grand entrances, thunderstorms, and flexing his divine dominance in culinary ways too. But there's debate among mythographers about whether this electrified cuisine was symbolic, an embodiment of his storm god status, or if he literally liked his food flash-grilled via celestial bolt. Given that your molars are currently vibrating, in harmony with thunderclouds, you're leaning toward the literal. Your fingers twitch involuntarily. Across the table, Ares nods approvingly. "You'll get used to it," he says, biting into a steak that's bleeding actual fire. Meanwhile, your taste buds are undergoing something akin to divine CPR. You can feel them realigning in your mouth. Your cheeks buzz. Your eyebrows threaten to migrate south. Zeus beams at you, clearly proud. "First mortal to try my salmon since the Trojan War." You wonder what happened to the last one. There's an odd little historical detail about the ancient Greeks. They didn't actually eat a lot of fish. Despite being a maritime culture, most fish was reserved for trade or religious sacrifice. Which means this Olympian sea dish is probably not a staple, more like a seasonal flex served with a side of thunder. Suddenly, your plate begins to crackle. You look down. The salmon is glowing faintly. A piece peels off and levitates for a second before collapsing like a souffle. Is this part of the recipe? Or is your digestive system staging a protest? Hermes tosses you a small packet labeled discharge biscuit. You pop it into your mouth without thinking. It tastes like chalk and ozone. The static fades instantly. You whisper a quiet thank you to no one in particular. Just then, a satyr chef dashes by with a fire extinguisher made of clouds. Clear the area. Poseidon sent a rebuttal dish. The doors burst open, and seawater floods into the hall. Briefly, it recedes with a hiss, and a single sea bass skids across the marble, lands at Zeus's feet, and flops once before going. Still, Zeus chuckles. That old seaweed, always trying to one-up me. You're beginning to realize that divine meals double as passive-aggressive warfare. Every dish is a statement, a flex, a claim to power. Even the herbs are political. That rosemary sprig, symbol of Hera's marriage contract. The lemon zest, a coded insult from Apollo to Artemis. You chew slowly now, trying to pace yourself. The tingling in your teeth finally recedes, though you still smell faintly of storm cloud. Zeus claps you on the back, lightly for a god, but you still almost fall into a bowl of immortal tartar sauce. That's the spirit, he says, pouring himself a drink made of pure rainfall. Eat like a god, live like a god. You nod, eyes watering slightly, and die like a mortal? He laughs, eventually, but not before dessert. You're not sure if that's comforting. A few minutes later, the salmon is cleared, the sparks swept up, and your eyebrows have mostly returned to their original position. You lean back, heart still doing a samba, wondering what else these gods consider edible. A servant replaces your plate with a fresh one. It's made of obsidian. The next dish is already on its way. You take a deep breath. One thing's for certain, you'll never look at seafood the same way again. When the obsidian plate is placed before you, it radiates a cold mist. You lean in cautiously and catch the scent of brine, olives, and something darker, like wet stone and candle smoke. A tapenade, but not just any. This one arrives with a whispering undertone. A presence. The olives are deep purple, almost black, gleaming with oil that doesn't quite reflect light. There's a crusty triangle of bread beside it, still warm from the underworld's oven. This, Hermes says, with a shiver, is Hades's contribution, a delicacy from below. Is it safe? You ask, eyeing the bread. Define safe, Hermes replies cheerfully, stepping back. You've never been particularly suspicious of olives, but the way these glisten, like they've been soaking in secrets for centuries, makes you reconsider. The spread is thick, gritty, and faintly iridescent. You scoop a small amount onto the bread and take a bite. Immediately, your mind is elsewhere. Not entirely gone, but certainly misplaced. You are standing in a quiet chamber, carved of obsidian, hearing whispers of people long gone. A woman mourns, a king regrets, a child sings a lullaby that never ends. And then, just as quickly, you're back in your seat, sweating. Hades, seated farther down the table in a robe of starless velvet, raises his glass to you. Memory-rich, he says, aged for millennia. Historians often ignore Hades when it comes to Olympus, painting him as the unpopular sibling who stayed home. But in reality, he was often the most stable, least chaotic of the gods, just morbid. His culinary tastes, according to obscure Orphic hymns, leaned toward the symbolic. Everything he served was meant to evoke memory, passage, transformation, and this tapenade? Oh, it evokes academic still debate whether the olives of the underworld were real ingredients or metaphors for shadowy introspection. There's even one eccentric scholar who proposed that the darkness in Hades' food wasn't symbolic at all. It was literally composed of trapped dreams and fermented regrets. After tasting this, you believe it. You reach for water. It tastes like ash now. The tapenade is deceptively subtle, but the longer it lingers on your tongue, the more you feel it moving through you, like it's exploring, poking around in your memories. You suddenly recall the time you tripped in front of your entire school in 3rd grade. That time you almost said "you too" to a server who told you to enjoy your meal. And that one breakup text that auto-corrected "take care" to "take crate." You glance down and realize your shadow has grown longer. It's leaning away from the candlelight, curling slightly at the edges. You blink. It returns to normal, mostly. To your left, a dryad is spooning the tapenade directly into her mouth and humming a funeral march. Her eyes are rolled back, but she seems happy about it. Sort of. "I think one bite's enough," you mutter. A nearby nymph chuckles. "Oh, sweetheart, if you only knew what's in the dessert round." You don't want to know. Still, something about the tapenade sticks with you, both literally and emotionally. It's the kind of food that doesn't just pass through you, it stays. It sets up shop in the attic of your mind, rummages through old boxes, and maybe writes some poetry on your cerebral wallpaper. You try to act casual, but every time you blink, you see coins on eyelids and rivers that don't flow water. For a second, you even smell sulfur and honeysuckle. You shake your head. Okay, too much underworld. Hades raises an eyebrow. Mortals, so sensitive. He takes a small bite himself, chews slowly, and closes his eyes. You watch as the shadows around him flicker, then settle like loyal pets at his feet. The servers sweep in, replacing your plate with an empty one once more. You notice the utensils are gone now. Maybe the next dish is finger food. Or maybe they just assume you won't be able to hold cutlery after that last course. You feel heavier, not in a physical way, but like you're carrying something new, something quiet. You glance down at your hands and wonder if they've always had that slight shimmer of grey at the edges. Surely just the lighting. The gods go on chatting like this is all perfectly normal. Ares is arguing with Athena over military strategy using grapes as mini-soldiers. Aphrodite is painting her nails with something that looks suspiciously like liquid starlight. And you, well, you're just trying not to unravel like a sweater made of ghost stories. A faint chime signals the arrival of the next course, and suddenly the temperature in the room seems to rise a few dreamy degrees. You feel an inexplicable urge to moisturize. The lights soften, casting a gentle pink glow, and the air smells like roses, warm bread, and very expensive perfume. A golden plate floats before you, landing with an elegant thud. On it, a delicate swirl of figs spread, glistening like amber. Under starlight, arranged in a heart shape beside a single edible flower, there's a spoon made of crystal, too ornate to use without guilt. Aphrodite leans in, smiling like someone who knows every secret you've ever tried to keep. "Do enjoy, darling. It's emotionally reactive." You raise an eyebrow. "Reactive how?" She laughs but doesn't answer. Instead, she dabs her own lips with a napkin made of silk and stardust, then returns to braiding her hair with pearls. You take the spoon and gather a small taste of the fig spread. The moment it touches your tongue, it hits you like the first notes of a favorite song you forgot you loved. Rich, earthy sweetness mingles with tangy brightness, like the fruit was grown in the sunniest corner of a memory. Then the warmth spreads. You're no longer at the table. You're on a beach. The breeze is warm. Your heart is light. And someone is laughing beside you. A laugh you haven't heard in years, or maybe ever. Their faces soft, blurred, but familiar. You feel loved, and just like that, you're back. You gasp. A single tear escapes traitorously before you wipe it away with a napkin that smells like cinnamon and nostalgia. Aphrodite is watching you, amused. First time's always a little intense. The room hums with low conversation. But for a moment, you swear every deity is quietly observing. Not judging, just curious how a mortal handles love in its rawest, most poetic form. In mythology, Aphrodite's influence extended far beyond hearts and flowers. She was the patron of both romantic ecstasy and devastating heartbreak. Her food, it seems, is a direct line to the emotional core, the gooey center of your soul. There's one surviving fragment from a Hellenistic love poem that mentions a preserve of figs so potent, a single taste renders a lover mute with longing. Historians still debate whether this was metaphor or memory enhancer. Given your experience just now, you'd guess it's a little of both. You try another small bite, and this time the vision is different. You're at a train station, waving goodbye to someone as a storm rolls in. There's a hug, tight and tearful, a promise not to forget. Your chest aches in a strangely beautiful way. You drop the spoon. Enough! Your skin feels flushed, your pulse fluttery. Ares glances over and snorts. Lightweight. Try it, you mutter, still reeling. He does. Instantly his face goes blank. Then his eye twitches. Slowly, very slowly, he lowers his weapon-shaped fork and excuses himself to punch a tree. You feel vindicated. A dryad sitting across from you dips a petal into the spread and hums a tune that could coax blossoms from concrete. Even Hermes, who's been largely unfazed up until now, is gently swirling his sample on a cracker shaped like a swan. The spread isn't just delicious, it's powerful. It's memory, fantasy, longing, regret, all smeared across a bite-sized moment. You realize how dangerous this dish is, not because it might kill you, but because you might need it, again and again. This is how mortals go missing, you think. Not in the underworld, but in fig-jam daydreams. You sit back, heart still skipping like a scratched vinyl record. Aphrodite leans close and whispers, "Don't worry, the next dish is wine. That should take the edge off." You don't know whether to be relieved or terrified. The servers return to clear your plate. One of them hesitates, then offers you a tiny candied fig. "For the road," they whisper. You pocket it. You don't know why. As the gods chatter, you glance around and notice something odd. Every one of them has unfinished portions of the fig spread. They dab, they toy, but no one finishes it. Maybe because even immortals know. Some bites aren't meant to be swallowed whole. You breathe in deeply, trying to reset. Your spoon still smells like desire. The napkin on your lap feels like a handwritten love letter. You've survived the food of longing, mostly. But your heart, yeah, it's going to need a minute. Before you've fully recovered from Aphrodite's emotionally hazardous fig spread, the room dims slightly. just enough to make you wonder if your eyes are failing or if the ceiling's turning into a disco. The answer, of course, is Dionysus, a sudden flourish of music, half flute, half what might be a kazoo, signals his arrival. He's perched on the back of a tiger-striped chaise lounge that rolls in of its own accord, tossing petals, grapes, and highly questionable confetti into the air. "Who's thirsty?" he shouts, raising a jug the size of a watermelon. Everyone cheers, even the chandelier. The jug is ceramic, painted with writhing nymphs and vines that appear to be moving. It glows faintly. As Dionysus upends it, a crimson liquid spills into every nearby cup, including yours, even though you never saw it being refilled. You pick it up and swirl it gently. The wine clings to the sides like syrup, shifting color between cherry, plum, and something more nebulous, like melted rubies mixed with déjà vu. "Just a sip," you murmur, "just to be polite." The first drop hits your tongue and explodes, like a fruit-scented thunderstorm. You taste every festival, every toast, every bad decision ever made in the history of drinking. It's a whole semester of college in one swallow, minus the hangover, at least for now. Then the warmth kicks in. It starts in your chest and spreads like a good secret. Your limbs loosen, your eyebrows stop judging you. You lean back in your chair and suddenly everything is hilarious. A waiter trips over a vine. Funny. Apollo misplays a harp note. Funnier. A grape rolls off your plate and bounces into Ares's helmet. Hysterical. You try to stifle your giggle. You fail. You dissolve into laughter that sounds suspiciously like ancient Greek and hiccups. This is Dionysus's specialty. Ecstasy, chaos, liberation. He's not just the god of wine. He's the god of shaking off the crust of daily life and dancing barefoot under moonlight with strangers you'll never see again. Historians agree that Dionysian rites were a wild departure from the order and logic worshipped by other gods. His followers, the Maenads, would often retreat into forests, drink themselves into prophetic trances, and perform interpretive dances that allegedly summoned spirits or raccoons. Some say the wine in these rituals was infused with mind-altering herbs. Others suggest that the altered states were entirely psychological, mass hysteria with grape notes. Your second sip confirms it's probably both. You feel the walls melt slightly, not in a terrifying way, more like everything's gotten rounder, softer. There's music, but it's not coming from anywhere. It's just around. You find yourself swaying to a rhythm that doesn't exist. Hermes clinks glasses with you. "First timer, huh? Is it that obvious? You've been singing to your spoon for 2 minutes. You glance down. You have indeed been serenading your utensils." "Classic phase 1, he says. "Let me know when you hit interpretive." Monologue. You start to respond, but Dionysus cuts in. "Let the mortals speak." Suddenly you're standing or hovering, maybe both. The gods look at you expectantly. You panic. And then, without thinking, you raise your cup and say, "To not dying yet." The entire hall erupts in cheers. Cups clink, harps strum. A satyr does a cartwheel. You are instantly showered in flower petals, coins, and what might be slightly drunk bees. Dionysus appears beside you, linking his arm through yours. "I like this one," he tells the room. "Let's keep them." You sit down carefully. The chair is now vibrating in sympathy with your laughter. Your cup refills itself. You politely push it away. No more. You value your liver. You can feel the wine lingering, less like alcohol, more like a presence. It hums in your veins, nudging you toward joy, toward freedom, toward very bad dancing. You resist, Barely. There's a moment where you look around and wonder how many mortals have made it this far into the banquet. Do they all make it back? Is there a gift bag? You watch Dionysus pour wine into his palm and fling it skyward. It forms a constellation before fading. A party trick, yes, but also a reminder: joy here is sacred, laughter is divine. And excess, that's just the first course. You're not sure when the forest arrived. One moment, you're still riding the high of Dionysus's wine-fueled performance. The next, the banquet hall opens into a grove, moonlight streaming down through twisted branches. It's not so much a shift in location as a shift in reality. Welcome to Artemis's corner of the party. The scent of pine needles and moss fills the air, cutting through the haze of fig spread and fermented joy. The table is now littered with bowls of roots, berries and mushrooms, all arranged with rustic elegance, like a Pinterest board curated by a survivalist elf. A tall huntress in silver steps forward. Artemis herself. She carries a wooden platter adorned with edible flowers, wild herbs, and something that looks like an acorn wearing a tiny hat. "I foraged this myself," she says. "No preservatives, no nonsense. You pick up what appears to be a leaf-wrapped parcel. It trembles faintly in your hand. That one's still thinking," she adds casually. The gods chuckle. You don't. Biting into Artemis's dish is like falling face first into a national park. It's fresh, it's green, it tastes of earth, sun, and pure intentions. And then, wait, something else. A prickling, your tongue recoils, your molars ache, the salad bit back. You glance down. One of the leaves on your plate is curling toward you, slowly, menacingly. You push it away with your spoon, which it promptly coils around like a lover or a boa constrictor. Artemis raises an eyebrow. Didn't chew it fast enough? Apparently. This dish comes with a challenge. In Greek myth, Artemis was fiercely independent, protector of animals and the wilderness, and not particularly fond of humans, especially ones who got too close. Her food, it seems, shares the same philosophy. Approach with respect or risk getting pricked. Historians often describe Artemis's followers as ascetic, bordering on austere, the kind who slept under the stars and drank rainwater by choice. Her cuisine reflects that. Raw, wild, slightly dangerous, and yet there's something undeniably clean about it. Every bite tastes alive. There's even a theory among culinary mythologists, yes, that's a thing, that Artemis's foraged offerings mirror early hunter-gatherer rituals. Each plant has meaning. Each root connects to a season. Eat one thing. Too early or too late, and nature will have words with you. You poke suspiciously at a curled fern. It puffs a tiny spore into your face. Your left eye twitches. Across the table, Apollo is rolling his eyes. "Honestly, sister, you could just roast something once in a while?" "I do roast," she replies, "but only emotionally. A faun brings you a cup of pine needle tea. You sip. It tastes like sap, menthol, and regret. Suddenly, a root rolls off your plate. It hits the ground and sprouts instantly into a miniature tree. You jump back. "Freshness guaranteed," Artemis says, not even looking. You reach for a berry, hesitating. It's glowing faintly, blue like moonlight caught in sugar. "Go ahead," she says. "That one's harmless." You eat it. It's sweet, tart, and instantly floods your mouth with cool night air. Your vision sharpens. You can hear the hoot of an owl that isn't physically present. Somewhere a fox pads through underbrush, and somehow you know its name. Artemis's food doesn't just nourish, it rewilds. You feel your heart slow, your breath deepen. For a moment, you're part of the forest, a quiet participant. You're not being fed, you're being initiated, and then something howls in the distance, and you remember that most forest stories don't end well. A berry squirms on your plate. You push it aside. Still, you can't deny there's beauty here. This isn't the overwhelming excess of Dionysus or the emotional ambush of Aphrodite. This is grounded, honest food. It requires effort, focus, good dental insurance. One final. A bite, a mushroom smooth and purple like a polished pebble. It tastes like damp soil and thunder. And then your left arm briefly turns into bark. You drop your fork. Artemis nods. Ah, truffle of transformation. Temporary. Probably. A satyr offers you a wet wipe made of moss. It helps. You lean back, your plate now empty except for a defiant root that refuses to sit still. You're not sure if you just ate a meal or completed a trial, but your lungs feel clearer, your spine straighter. You survived Artemis's forest. You may have even earned her respect, at least she didn't turn you into a tree yet. You're beginning to understand the pattern. Each course is more than a dish. It's a trial, a riddle, a miniature meltdown in edible form. So when Ares leans across the table and slaps a hunk of bread onto your plate with the force of a minor earthquake, you know you're in trouble. Eat up, he grunts. It's war bread, baked with fury and chickpeas. The loaf is a dense brick-like slab. Its crust is armor-thick, darkened in patches that look suspiciously like burn marks or battle scars. The aroma is rugged, grains, smoke, and the vague hint of blood oranges. A small knife is provided. It immediately bends when you try to cut into the crust. Use your hands, Ares scoffs, tearing his own loaf in half like a phone book. You try. It doesn't go well. A passing nymph notices your struggle and offers you what appears to be a hammer. You thank her, then give the bread a few respectable taps. Nothing. It absorbs the blows like a well-trained soldier. You mutter a prayer and bite directly into it. Boom. Your teeth meet resistance, then something surprisingly chewy beneath the crust. The inside is dark, almost meaty, with notes of barley, cumin, and whatever emotion rage tastes like. Ares. Beams. It's got protein from the ashes of fallen legumes. You cough. The bread is dry enough to demand a sip of wine, but you remember Dionysus's last pour and settle for water. Even that seems reluctant to go near the loaf. Historians often depict Ares as brutish, impulsive, and more brawn than brains, but culinary anthropologists know better. His food, while unrefined, is functional. It's built for endurance, survival, and intimidation. Think ancient military rations, only baked by someone who's angry at gluten. There's an obscure Thracian war hymn that references a battle bread soaked in thunder and salted with oaths. Most believe it's a metaphor. You, having now consumed approximately 2 bites, are less convinced. You chew slowly, jaw muscles aching. Each bite works like a rep at the gym. Somewhere in the background, a war drum starts beating, possibly from the bread's core. Or your heart. Ares slams his goblet down. This is the kind of bread that built empires. You raise an eyebrow. It's also the kind of bread that breaks molars. He laughs. Strength comes through suffering. And carbs. One of the gods down the table tries spreading olive oil on theirs. The bread absorbs it instantly, like a sponge of doom. They blink once, then politely slide the loaf into a nearby potted plant. You keep gnawing, determined to finish at least half. The middle softens slightly, revealing seeds, pepitas maybe, and something chewy that might be sun-dried figs or an unripe war cry. You can't tell. Your jaw pops. You're 90% sure you just unlocked a new level of bite strength. Hephaestus strolls by, takes a slice, and uses it to hammer a nail into a table leg. It works. He nods approvingly. You glance up at Ares. "Is this how you usually eat?" "Every day," he replies. "Keeps me sharp. Keeps my enemies terrified." You believe it. This bread could end a siege. Still, there's something comforting about it. It's not trying to be pretty. It doesn't sing or sparkle or rewire your DNA. It's just there, dense, grounded, and vaguely threatening. Like Ares himself. You manage one final bite, chasing it with a gulp of whatever liquid you're allowed. Your stomach rumbles in response, trying to process what feels like a loaf of compressed battlefield memories. Ares slaps you on the back. You black out briefly. When you come to, your plate is clean, save for a few rebellious crumbs that have merged into a new continent. You dust them off. You feel slightly stronger, heavier, possibly indestructible. The next dish is already on its way, but for now, you sit back and breathe, grateful that at least this time your food didn't hallucinate your childhood or try to bite you. Battle bread, 1. Your dental plan, 0. You smell it before you see it. Salt, ozone, and something eerily like fresh sea foam mixed with lime sorbet. Your plate is replaced once more, this time with a bowl of swirling pale blue cream that shifts colors when the light hits it. It bubbles faintly. Poseidon's course has arrived. Sea foam sorbet, a nymph whispers reverently. Harvested from the breath of sirens, chilled by deep ocean currents, whipped with trident speed. Poseidon himself lounges nearby, draped in kelp, trident across his lap, looking very pleased with the aquatic drama he's causing. He raises a brow when he sees your hesitation. "Try it," he booms. "It's the tide in edible form." You take the daintiest spoonful, watching as the sorbet undulates slightly in the bowl, just enough to make you wonder if it's alive. The flavor is stunning. A perfect balance of sweet and salty, like lemon kissed by ocean wind. But then comes the aftershock, a sudden flood of memories that aren't yours. You see a shipwreck, a mermaid crying into a storm, a dolphin laughing maniacally. Your ears pop as though you've surfaced too fast from a deep dive. Historians describe Poseidon as tempestuous and vain, prone to massive emotional swings and literal earth-shaking tantrums. His culinary offerings reflect that. They're majestic but volatile. Think Michelin-starred cuisine served on a boat during a hurricane. There's one ancient tale of a sailor who licked Poseidon's sea cream and claimed to taste the birth of the tides. He was later found on a beach trying to teach mussels how to read. You blink, a wave crashes in your head. Not metaphorically, your inner ear is hearing real ocean sounds. You steady yourself and sip water, but it only intensifies the sea sensations. Your breath tastes like brine. Your fingertips wrinkle like you've been soaking too long. Across the table, Dionysus is making a mermaid out of his sorbet. He giggles as it sings a slightly off-key sea shanty. You glance down. Your bowl now contains a tiny whirlpool. You swear you see a ship sinking in it. "Nope," you whisper, and put your spoon down. But curiosity wins. One more taste. This one, colder. Sharper. You feel a tug, like gravity has been recalibrated. You're momentarily convinced you are the ocean, deep, unknowable, full of secrets and lost cargo. Your vision flickers blue. Everything smells like wet rope and whale breath. The sorbet is fading in temperature, but growing in emotional intensity. Each bite takes you deeper into maritime myth. Sirens whisper sweet nothings in forgotten dialects. You briefly believe you're a sea god yourself, lording over coral and krakens. And then, as quickly as it began, the sorbet melts into a harmless puddle. Your spoon floats like a lifeboat in it. You sit back, drenched in sea vibes and mild vertigo. Poseidon nods at you with mild approval. You handled it better than Theseus. He puked into his sandals. Ares raises his cup. Honestly, that was an improvement for him. A minor water sprite pats your shoulder. It leaves a damp handprint shaped like a fish. Your skin still smells faintly of salt water. Your shoes squish slightly when you move, and your stomach, it's not thrilled, but it's adjusting. Somehow, as if it now understands the tide schedule. One particularly eccentric culinary scroll from the Hellenistic period claims Poseidon's dishes were designed to erode resistance like water against stone. You're inclined to agree. You feel smoother, slower, vaguely worn down in a meditative way, like your soul went for a swim and came back a little wrinkled but wiser. You blink seawater from your eyes and try to refocus. The sea has receded. The table is being cleared, and the next course is already forming in the distance, glowing with golden promise. You shiver slightly, not from cold, but from awe. You just ate the ocean, and somehow you're still seated. Just when you think your palate has seen everything, storm-kissed sorbets, fig-fueled heartbreak, and sourdough forged in battle, you're handed a plate that glows like a sunrise in springtime. Gentle golden light radiates from a honeycomb set delicately atop a bed of fresh herbs and almond petals. The smell, divine, literally. It's like citrus, warmth, and poetry made tangible. This, Apollo announces, hair somehow blowing in a non-existent breeze, is honey from my sacred hives on Delos. Each bee listens to lyre music. You take a cautious breath. The aroma alone makes you feel like reciting Shakespeare and doing yoga simultaneously. The moment your spoon cracks the honeycomb, it oozes nectar with impossible grace. You scoop a bite, watching the liquid drip in slow motion like sunlight melting over snow. Then you taste it. Oh, it's not just sweet, it's brilliant. It tastes like a memory of summer you never had, like being hugged by golden hour, like someone put optimism through a juicer. But then it evolves. It warms your tongue and somehow your thoughts. Suddenly everything is beautiful, everything makes sense. Even the fact that a dryad is using your napkin to fan herself feels like part of some great cosmic harmony. Apollo winks. See, my bees are very enlightened. This honey isn't just food, it's light, encoded. You begin to see things. Words hover in the air. Music notes drift by lazily. A flower opens beside your plate and offers unsolicited advice on career planning. Historians agree that Apollo was obsessed with perfection in poetry, music, prophecy, and apparently agriculture. There's a legend that he taught bees how to when truth in pollen and hum harmonies in dactylic hexameter. It's ridiculous. You believe it anyway. There's an obscure cult in Anatolia that used to perform honey rites, where initiates were blindfolded, spun around, and then asked to find truth by licking glowing honeycombs. Most passed out. Some started religious. Movements, you taste another sliver. This time it's less sweetness, more vision. You see the world split briefly into chords. Everything around you pulses with a golden metronome. A harp somewhere strums in sync with your heartbeat. Your teeth vibrate pleasantly. Your freckles glow. Do not eat the wax, Apollo cautions, unless you want to see the Fibonacci sequence unravel. You gently push the wax aside. Across the table, Hermes is mixing the honey with goat cheese and black pepper. "Trust me," he says. "It's divine fusion. You try it. The result is suspiciously good, like someone snuck a 5-star tapas bar into your brain. Then the cheese starts quoting Aristotle. You gently set it down. Even Dionysus seems impressed. He dips a grape in the honey and hums a bar of something ancient, which immediately gets stuck in your head, permanently. The thing about this honey, it doesn't stop working after you swallow it. It lingers. Not like garlic or regret, but like an idea. You begin to understand things. You remember your childhood goldfish's name. You realize the moon has been subtly judging humanity this whole time. You feel seen, not in a bad way. In a slightly overwhelming, all your flaws are now set to music kind of way. You also develop a mild crush on the concept of photosynthesis. Probably a side effect. Apollo smiles at you. Careful. Too much and you'll start prophesying poorly. You nod. Define poorly? Mostly puns. You push the plate away before you start mumbling limericks about the stock market. The honey glows once more, then settles. Your skin, faintly radiant, dims back to normal. The flower beside you sighs and wilts, its career advice spent. You lean, back in your chair, light-headed and lightly enlightened. So far you've eaten storms, dreams, desire and rage. But this dish, this one was beauty, raw, unapologetic and sweet enough to rewrite your inner monologue in verse. And in the brief silence that follows you hear it. A single perfect chord humming in your bones. Your bones are still vibrating, like tuning forks from Apollo's honey when a new aroma takes over the air, earthy, briny, and sharply pungent. Something you recognize. Olives, but not just any olives. These are Athena's. A polished marble tray arrives, intricately etched with labyrinthine patterns. Upon it rests a small bowl of olives, black, green, gold-flecked, some speared with pomegranate seeds, others dusted in crushed herbs. The arrangement is geometrically flawless, like a Sudoku made of snacks. Athena herself sits with a straight spine and a look that says she's already anticipated your reaction, dissected your palate, and possibly judged your SAT scores. Each olive is a problem, she says simply. You pick up the first one, smooth and dark, almost eggplant-colored. It smells like wisdom and smugness. You pop it in your mouth. Immediately your brain goes quiet. The olive floods your senses with complexity, bitterness layered with bursts of salt and tang, like philosophy disguised as food. Your eyebrows lift. Involuntarily, Athena nods. That's the one infused with dialectic thought. You swallow slowly, brain already shifting into overdrive. Words start forming, big ones. Words like epistemological and heuristic. You don't even know what they mean, but they feel right. There's a low hum from the bowl. You reach for a green olive. It's slightly softer, with a citrus undertone. The moment you bite into it, you hear a riddle. Not with your ears, with your mind. I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. You blink. Why is my olive whispering riddles? Test batch, Athena says, scribbling notes. The gods continue their meal, mostly ignoring the bowl in front of you that is now unmistakably glowing. Your next olive is golden, encrusted with something like salt, but sparklier. It tastes like late-night debates and freshly sharpened pencils. Historians widely acknowledge that Athena gifted the olive tree to humankind as a symbol of wisdom, peace, and economic development. But rarely discussed is the belief held by some ancient Athenian sects that the first olive Athena ever harvested was sentient, capable of judging human logic. You're starting to believe that sect had a point. The olives seem to be testing you. One suddenly rolls toward your hand. Cautiously, you eat it. Immediately a sentence forms in your mind. State the fundamental flaw in Plato's cave analogy as applied to modern media. You spit olive pit and panic. Across the table, Hermes gives you a thumbs up. If it helps, nobody ever answers that one. You try drinking water, but even the water now tastes like academia. The next olive is small, wrinkled, and pitch black. The flavor? Regret. Academic regret. You immediately recall the time you skipped studying for a midterm because you thought binge-watching documentaries counted. A bit too introspective. Athena asks, "A bit," you croak. There's one final olive in the bowl, pulsating faintly. You hesitate. Then curiosity, foolish, resilient curiosity, wins again. You eat it, and the lights go out. No, not in the room. In your head. Silence. Then slowly, a whisper. What is knowledge? You sit motionless, paralyzed by the enormity of the question. Somewhere inside you, a tiny owl flaps its wings and takes flight. And then it's over. The lights flicker back on. Your thoughts return, now slightly restructured, like your mental. Furniture's been rearranged by a very tidy librarian. Athena watches you calmly. That was the epistemic core olive. It's banned in 3 realms. You nod slowly. I feel like I passed something, or possibly failed everything. That's how it works, she replies, sipping her wine. You slump slightly in your chair, the tray now empty, save for a few shimmering pits and a sense of mild existential dread. And yet, you feel smarter. Not necessarily wiser, but definitely more organized. Your thoughts are alphabetized, your doubts have been indexed, and your cravings for olives, slightly traumatized. One final historical footnote floats through your head. Some ancient philosophers believed eating olives from Athena's sacred groves bestowed insight, but only to those who already had the capacity to understand. For everyone else, it just caused stress dreams about thesis deadlines. You look around. No one else seems fazed. Ares is eating another steak. Aphrodite is braiding seaweed into Dionysus's hair. Meanwhile, your brain is rearranging internal file cabinets with divine efficiency. You sit back, grateful that for the moment, no one is asking you any more questions. The next plate arrives with precision. No flourish, no mystical fog, no spontaneous whale songs, just a rectangular wooden board, meticulously arranged. Every item has a place. Every slice, every cube, every smear of cheese looks like it was measured with a ruler and calibrated for divine symmetry. This is Hera's charcuterie board. You feel a sudden urge to sit up straighter. Your napkin refolds itself, intimidated. Even your spoon appears to be questioning its casual angle. A small card rests beside the board. Approved for mortal consumption. Don't rearrange anything. You look up. Hera is watching. She's regal, unmoving, and sipping something that could be tea or molten authority. Her presence alone adds 20 IQ points to your posture. The board features an array of elements. Artisanal cheeses shaped like zodiac signs, dried fruits in golden spirals, crackers aligned like solar flares, and meats sliced so thin they could be mistaken for divine skin grafts. There's also a jar of something labeled condiment of consequence. You decide to leave it sealed. You start with the cheese, Aries-shaped, possibly cheddar, possibly judgment. It's delicious, sharp, structured, definitely overachieving. You Move to a square of prosciutto folded into a rose. It tastes like discipline, like a hug with strict boundaries. Hera raises one brow approvingly. You didn't pair that with melon. Good. You nod solemnly. You weren't going to, but now you feel oddly proud of your restraint. Historians often reduce Hera to the role of jealous wife, but in truth, she was a goddess of power, order, and ceremonial dignity. Her food mirrors this, calculated, refined, and just a little terrifying. There are ancient frescoes showing her overseeing feasts like a military general, her olives in rank, her nuts in battalions. There's even an obscure culinary scroll from Crete describing the perfect Hera plate, which mandates that each bite must be both aesthetically pleasing and symbolically aligned with a moral virtue. Violators were reportedly served crackers of shame. You cautiously select a fig stuffed with something sparkling. It tastes like enforced tranquility, like a bedtime routine optimized by divine efficiency. Then you spot it, a small wedge of blue. Cheese tucked in the corner, slightly misaligned. You reach for it, careful, Hera says, eyes narrowing. You freeze. What's wrong? That one's testing you. Reposition it. I dare you. You glance down. The cheese stares back. You swear it growls. You eat it quickly. It's strong, assertive, like eating a well-structured argument. Your vision blurs for a second, and you see your entire to-do list reorganize itself by priority. You suddenly remember your dentist appointment from 2017 and feel guilty for missing it. You sip water. The glass feels judgmental. Across the table, Dionysus is trying to build a cracker tower. One of the meats jumps off his plate and slaps him. Hera sighs audibly. This is why I host separate dinners, she murmurs. You move to a cluster of grapes, impossibly shiny. You eat one. It tastes like resolutions kept. You eat another. It tastes like making your bed on a Monday. You stop before they turn into a self-help seminar. You eye the jar of condiment of consequence. It vibrates slightly. You pick it up, then change your mind. Your hand feels cleaner just for having considered it. Every bite on the board seems to straighten your thoughts. You feel composed, regulated, mildly suspicious of whimsy. You remember birthdays you forgot and people whose texts you never replied to. You feel accountable. This board is not food. It's a spreadsheet of flavors. You try the final cracker. A perfect hexagon sprinkled with pepper flakes, arranged in the shape of a laurel crown. It is somehow the most orderly and satisfying thing you've eaten all night. You lean back, dazed but stable. No visions, no hallucinations, just a well-earned sense of balance. Hera nods in your direction. You did better than most. The last mortal tried to alphabetize the grapes. You exhale. Your heartbeat has returned to its normal, slightly nervous rhythm. The board is cleared. A single cracker remains, marked with your name in sesame seeds. You leave it untouched. Something tells you it's a trap, or a compliment. Possibly both. And for the first time all evening, you feel managed. The air changes again. Less perfume, more pollen. A warm breeze seems to drift through the hall, carrying with it the unmistakable scent of wheat, ripe fruit, and something toasty, like the earth itself just finished baking cookies. Demeter's dish has arrived. Before you is a rustic bowl carved from olive wood, filled with a grain medley that seems alive. No, really, it shifts gently, like breathing. Pearled barley, spelt and millet gleam under a drizzle of golden syrup, studded with pomegranate seeds, sunflower petals, and cubes of what might be roasted squash or candied patience. The bowl hums softly. not metaphorically, actually hums. Seasonal. Grain surprise, says a gentle voice behind you. You turn. It's Demeter, serene and sun-kissed, with hair like wheat fields in the wind and hands that look like they could plant stars. Eat it while it's awake, she adds, then disappears behind a curtain of ivy. You pick up a wooden spoon and gently stir the grains. They respond like a happy cat, warm, cooperative, and strangely aware. Your first bite is a revelation. It tastes like home, not your home necessarily, but a home, familiar, nourishing, maybe even ancestral. The grains are chewy, the syrup floral and grounding. The pomegranate pops with tart brightness. It's like Thanksgiving in a sun temple. Then something moves in your stomach. You pause. A single barley kernel sprouts, not metaphorically, literally. You swallow hard. Historians adore Demeter for her role in agriculture, but they rarely mention how intense her magic truly is. She didn't just grow food, she breathed life into it. Some ancient texts describe her offerings as living nourishment, capable of restoring the land, healing famine, and, apparently, germinating in the digestive tract. You chew your next bite more carefully. A seed within it whispers the current phase of the moon. The squash tastes like seasonal renewal. The grains don't just feed your body, they upgrade it. Your nails suddenly look stronger. Your spine pops like you've just done yoga. You get a craving for composting. Across the table, Hermes is plucking pomegranate seeds from his own bowl and launching them at Dionysus, who's trying to grow a grapevine in his wine glass. Demeter sighs from a distance, gently scolding the plants under her breath. Your third bite hits differently. You feel the rhythm of seasons pulsing beneath your skin. Spring blooming in your lungs, summer buzzing in your chest, autumn falling gently behind your eyes, winter waiting in your toes. You exhale and it smells like freshly turned soil. Then something odd happens. Your bowl begins to sprout. Tiny green shoots push through the grains, curling toward the ceiling. You drop your spoon. Don't worry, a dryad says cheerfully. That just means the dish likes you. You blink. Your barley is now a bonsai wheat field. One obscure Orphic hymn describes Demeter's sacred dish as that which nourishes, remembers, and renews. Some ancient farmers even believed eating from her harvest granted them better weather and stronger livestock. Others warned that overeating could lead to spontaneous germination. You pat your stomach nervously. A nearby satyr offers you a sprig of mint to cool the growth. You accept. It works mostly. Then you hear it. A soft chime. Your bowl has reset, back to its original appearance. The sprouts vanish, the grains settle. The pomegranate glistens like a reset button. Second serving, Demeter's voice says warmly. From nowhere and everywhere, you decline. One final bite, a tiny cube of roasted root vegetable. It tastes like the first time you succeeded at something. Hard, like a hug from the earth. You look up, misty-eyed, and find Demeter watching from across the room. She smiles, soft and powerful. The bowl is cleared by a nymph in mossy sandals. Your stomach feels rich, like fertile land. You might grow a basil plant if someone sneezes near you. Demeter's dish was calm, kind, and absolutely capable of photosynthesis. The smell hits you before the food does. Smoky, metallic, and inexplicably nutty, like someone melted a forge and added a splash of nacho cheese. The plate arrives covered, steaming gently under a dome of hammered bronze. When it's lifted, there it is, Hephaestus's molten cheese melt. It's less fondue and more lava on a bun. The bread is thick, crusty and slightly charred, as though toasted by dragon breath. The cheese itself glows faintly orange, bubbling in a way that suggests it might be sentient, or at least annoyed. A pair of bronze tongs is placed beside it, along with a leather glove. You glance around. Everyone else is donning protective eyewear. Dionysus is already wearing 3 pairs, just for style. Hephaestus limps over, soot-smudged and smiling like a dad showing off his DIY rocket-powered. "Grill, eat fast," he says, "before it cools or explodes." You slide the glove on, grip the sandwich and take a bite. Boom. Your mouth floods with heat. Delicious heat. Not just spicy, but forged. The cheese has a tang, somewhere between aged Gouda and whatever fuels the sun. The bread crackles under your teeth, and each chew sounds like the blacksmithing of flavor, and then it fizzes. Your tongue sparks. Your lips go numb. You blink and see blueprints. Blueprints. Is this safe, you ask, mid-chew? Nope. Hephaestus replies cheerfully. Historians often paint Hephaestus as the outcast of Olympus, gruff and quiet, but every myth that includes him makes one thing clear. His craftsmanship was unmatched. His culinary approach is no different. Each bite feels engineered. The crust shatters with structural integrity. The cheese doesn't drip. It flows, like molten gold in a dwarven vault. There's even an old Athenian smith's tale claiming that a slice of Hephaestus's legendary cheese melt was once used to weld bronze. You believe it. Ares rips his own sandwich in half and grunts appreciatively. Tastes like victory. Your eyes water, not from emotion. Your tear ducts are reacting to capsaicin levels that probably qualify as pepper war crimes. The second bite is even better. Beneath the initial burn is a layer of something sweet, caramelized onion, honeyed ash. Either way, it's dangerously addictive. You forget to chew. You're halfway to swallowing when the cheese crackles audibly. "Careful," says Hermes, flipping down his visor. "You're entering phase 2. Phase 2. Suddenly your brain lights up like a soldering iron. You taste ideas, the internal temperature of a star, the torque resistance of divine anvils. A surprisingly catchy jingle about blacksmith safety protocols. You drop the sandwich onto your plate. It hisses angrily. Hephaestus chuckles. "It likes you." "Of course it does," mutters Apollo. "Another firebrain recruit." You're sweating now. Your eyebrows feel aerodynamic. You reach for water, but it's mysteriously vanished. Replacement cup is provided by a one-eyed automaton with perfect table manners. One academic debate still surrounds the origin of Hephaestus's culinary flair. Was his food forged with magical fire, or did he invent taste bud metallurgy? Some even theorize he crafted the first culinary torch from a stray thunderbolt. You're inclined to believe the last theory. This melt doesn't cook your mouth. It reforges it. You manage one more bite. Your lips tingle, your molars buzz. Your brain offers blueprints for a self-stirring teacup. You nod politely and set the rest aside. You'd like to keep your digestive tract from self-welding. Hephaestus raises a toast in your direction. "Solid work, mortal." "Thanks," you croak. "Do you have Tums?" He hands you a small metal tin. Inside, a single glowing mint labeled coolant. You pop it into your mouth. A blissful breeze flows down your throat. The sandwich sizzles gently as it's cleared away by a fire-resistant servant. Your fingers still smell faintly of iron and innovation. You lean back, heart pounding, eyelids twitching. You just survived the divine equivalent of grilled cheese crossed with volcanic ambition. You'll never look at paninis the same way again. Before your taste buds have even finished negotiating a truce after Hephaestus's lava melt, something fast flits by your plate. Was that a paper airplane? No, it's a miniature gyro wrapped in papyrus. Another one zips past and lands perfectly upright in your cup. Then bam, your plate is full again, without anyone having placed a single thing there. Welcome to Hermes' Express Snack Pack. It's a chaotic assortment. There's no cutlery, no presentation, just speed. Everything is wrapped in leaves, foil, or gravity-defying parchment. There's a meat skewer balanced on a spinning coin, a cheese cube suspended in mid-air by a gust of wind, and a breadstick that vanishes if you blink. Hermes appears beside you in a blur, holding a stopwatch and chewing gum. Eat fast, he says. It all has a time limit. You stare at the tray. A small wrap labeled, "Don't chew this near paradoxes," pulses gently in your hand. You start with something safe-looking, a triangle of flatbread slathered in a bright yellow spread. You bite. The flavor zips through your mouth like data, in a fiber-optic cable. Lemony, sharp, slightly peppery, and somehow nostalgic. It disappears before you can identify it. Hermes claps. Nice! That was a compressed flavor file from 345 BCE. You raise an eyebrow. The year, he adds. Delicious trade route innovations that year. Historians know Hermes as the messenger god, the divine mailman, the patron of merchants and thieves. His culinary identity reflects that. Fast, clever, untraceable. His food doesn't sit, it moves. It's a meal in motion. Half of it's already digested before you finish swallowing. The next item, a shimmering puff that looks like a baklava had a one-night stand with a sugar cube, disappears the moment it touches your tongue. It leaves behind a very clear mental image of a bustling market in Babylon. You briefly remember being someone named Hanno. You had a camel. You miss her. One theory from culinary historians suggests that Hermes' dishes don't feed you in the traditional sense. They're informational, packets disguised as snacks. Each bite transfers knowledge, memory, or sometimes light nausea. You unwrap a small item labeled airbag falafel. It explodes in your mouth, not violently, but dramatically. Chickpeas, garlic, mint, and wind. You hiccup, and a puff of steam escapes your nose. Hermes beams. That one has a 0.3-second flavor window. Nailed it. A hovering almond circles your plate before dropping into your lap. You eat it, slightly on impulse. For 3 seconds, you speak flawless ancient Phoenician. Then it's gone. Across the table, Athena is rolling her eyes. He's feeding you snack riddles. You nod, dazed. I'm okay with that. Another treat appears, a translucent dumpling filled with what looks like starlight and paprika. You hesitate. Hermes shrugs. Might be a tracking device or a mini eclair. You eat it, it's both. And also somehow maple glazed. Everything is delicious, but nothing lasts. The flavors are intense and brief, like text messages from your taste buds. You don't so much eat the snacks as experience them in drive-through bullet time. There's even a pocket pie that disappears into your hand before you get to bite it. Hermes shrugs. Express loss happens. Your favorite is a small puff labeled argument starter. You pop it into your mouth and suddenly feel a strong, passionate opinion about how olives should never go in a martini. A passing satyr disagrees. You glare at him for a full minute before remembering you don't care. One final snack. A thin ribbon of candied fig, rolled around a sliver of goat cheese, and something that feels like momentum itself, makes you blink so hard You shift 2 inches forward in your chair. Shortcut fig, Hermes says proudly. Time-saving, calorie-dense, also mildly teleportative. You sit back, dizzy, breathless and full, but in a weird, shifting kind of way. It's hard to tell if you've just had lunch or a flash drive inserted into your brain through your tongue. Your plate is already clear. Hermes is gone, a faint breeze left in his wake. You exhale. Your stomach hums. Your thoughts are moving too fast to pin down, and then you find it, tucked behind your ear. A napkin that wasn't there before. It reads, "You owe me 3 bites, IOUs accepted in barter or puns." You're not even mad. After the high-speed taste tornado of Hermes's snack pack, it's almost jarring to see a simple bowl placed before you, deep, earthen, and gently steaming. No sparks, no riddles, no fig-based teleportation, just soup. But this isn't just any soup. This is Hestia's eternal hearth soup. The aroma is soothing. Roasted vegetables, hints of rosemary, garlic, and something deeper, like hearth smoke and memories of sitting too close to a fireplace in fuzzy socks. You look up and notice the lighting has dimmed to a gentle glow, and the room has fallen quieter as though everyone collectively exhaled. Hestia stands near the hearth. Yes, there's suddenly a hearth. Her expression calm. Her presence so unassuming you wonder if she's always been here. Maybe she has. It's not fancy, she says, ladling out another bowl. But it'll remember you. You lift the spoon and take a slow sip. Warmth spreads through you, not the dramatic volcanic fire of Hephaestus, not the celestial high of Apollo, but a homey warmth. It tastes like roasted roots, sun-soaked herbs, a dash of salt, and maybe, just maybe, a hug from someone you thought you'd never see again. You immediately feel better, and slightly drowsy. Across from you, Dionysus has curled into a chair, his wine untouched for the first time all evening. Even Ares is cradling his bowl with both hands, sipping like he's back from war, and no longer trying to kill his spoon. The soup doesn't just warm your body, it slows everything down. Your thoughts, your pulse, even the twitchy, metaphysical buzz you've accumulated from eating lightning fish and dream fig jelly. All of it settles. Historians often overlook Hestia, calling her the quiet goddess, or the one who stayed home. But in many ancient cities, she was the first deity honored in every offering, the one who anchored the sacred flame at the center of both temples and households. Her food, it seems, is an extension of that role, unpretentious, grounding, eternal. Some fringe archaeologists even claim her recipes are encoded in the architecture of early dwellings. Brick placements that mirrored soup ingredients, chimney shapes that dictated flavor profiles. It sounds wild, but as you sip again and feel your spine release tension it's carried since the 6th grade, you wonder if they were onto something. You reach the heart of the bowl. The soup is thicker here, as though it's condensed memory. A carrot chunk. Tastes like a cozy night with rain tapping on the window. A slice of parsnip brings the scent of your old school library for no good reason. And then, the lentil. It's just a lentil, but it knows things. You eat it. Suddenly you remember your grandmother's hands, the texture of your first notebook, the exact rhythm of your childhood home's radiator in winter. You set the spoon down, blinking back a tear. This soup is weaponized comfort. Next to you, a dryad has fallen asleep mid-sip. A nymph has taken off her crown and set it gently on the table. Even Athena seems a little less taut around the shoulders. Then something unexpected happens. The soup speaks, not out loud, not in words, but in sensation. It thanks you for being here, for staying, for tasting. It acknowledges your presence the way only something truly sacred can, without fanfare, without strings. Just a quiet, "You are enough." You take one last spoonful. It's lukewarm now, but perfect. Like leftovers from a perfect evening, like waking up warm. The bowl never empties, but you know when you've had enough. You nod politely, and the soup understands. Hestia gives you a small, soft smile as the bowl is cleared. Feel free to nap if you like. You almost do. A single warm breeze passes over the table. The hearth dims slightly, the flame never fading, just relaxing. You sit still for a moment, letting everything settle. Your belly is warm, your heart full. In a feast of divine wonders and chaos, this was the first dish that made you feel whole. You don't expect a flute solo to precede your next dish, but here we are. Pan, the goat-legged god of wild spaces, unquestionable hygiene, is dancing around the table, playing a panpipe made of hollowed mushroom stems. With every note, baskets of fungi float toward you. "Tonight's course," he announces with a grin that should probably be regulated, "is a fungal fiesta. Welcome to the wild mushroom gamble." You blink down at your plate. It looks chaotic, a mix of textures, shapes, and suspicious glows. Some mushrooms are delicately sautéed, others pickled in jars shaped like gnome hats. One appears to be whispering. The menu card beside your plate reads, "One of these is totally fine." You look around. Everyone else seems to be hesitating. Even Hermes is poking at his plate with a chopstick he definitely stole from a sushi restaurant. Pan winks. "Don't worry. Statistically, only 1 in 5 causes interpretive dance." You sigh. This again. You pick the least threatening mushroom first, round, brown, normal. It tastes nutty, earthy, familiar. You breathe, you live. Then a red-capped, one with little silver freckles. That's when things get weird. Your tongue goes numb for a moment, then your hands start clapping. Without your permission. "Phase 1, Pan says, delighted. You try to stop. Can't. Your legs want to tango, your hips rebel, you're doing a seated jazz routine, and your brain is helpless to intervene. Historians know Pan as the god of nature, flocks, and spontaneous freakouts. His food reflects that wild, chaotic, often mischievous energy. Where Demeter feeds you balance and renewal, Pan gives you impulse on a plate. His dishes are equal parts nourishment, dare, and misbehavior. There's a minor myth from Arcadia about a mortal who once ate Pan's harvest platter and spent 3 days speaking only in sheep metaphors. You're now 10% into that arc. The third mushroom is pickled and greenish. It tastes like forest after rain. A moment later, you begin to understand squirrel gossip. A dryad nearby hums in approval. You take a breath and try to focus. Not all. The mushrooms are unhinged. A small white one with purple edges tastes like buttery garlic and firm resolve. Good. That's a win. Then, a glowing blue puffball. Your fork hesitates. Pan raises his brows. That one's a gamble. You bite. The world tilts, not in a terrifying way, more like a very enthusiastic carousel. You blink, and your vision divides. You can now see both the mushroom and its nutritional regrets. You are briefly aware of every insect that's ever crawled on it. You are deeply empathetic. You are a mushroom. Then it passes. You're back, sweaty, but grounded. The table cheers softly. Classic 4th bite trip. Dionysus mutters, clearly impressed. Pan's getting creative this season. You push aside a striped fungus that giggles when touched. Not tonight, you think. 1. Final mushroom, innocent-looking, brown and crispy. You eat it cautiously and then silence. Total, absolute quiet. The room fades. You are in a field, alone, peaceful. A gentle breeze rustles the grass. A goat bleats in the distance. The stars blink above like sleepy eyes. You're calm. And then, snap! You're back at the table, covered in mushroom glitter. No one says a word. Pan bows with dramatic flair. Survived the sampler. You may now access mild forest clairvoyance for 48 hours. You nod. Noted. The plate is cleared, leaving behind a faint scent of moss and panic. Your head spins, but your heart races with joy. It was insane. It was risky. It was so Pan. One scholarly footnote you vaguely recall now makes complete sense. A Greco-Roman biographer once wrote, "Those who dine with Pan leave wiser, weirder, and occasionally with hooves." You check your feet. Still human. For now, you lean back, smiling despite yourself. Every course so far has flirted with your mortality, but Pan's made you dance with it. Your plate has been cleared of mushroom mischief, and for a fleeting, dangerous moment, you think the chaos might be over. That maybe, just maybe, you'll get something normal next. Like fruit. A nice apple, perhaps. And then it arrives. A shimmering glass platter shaped like a lotus flower is set before you. On it, 6 ruby-red pomegranate seeds arranged in a perfect circle around a central blossom. Each seed glistens like it was plucked from a gemstone orchard under moonlight. They hum softly. You're not entirely sure if it's sound or existential. A vibration. Persephone herself walks over. Half goddess, half seasonal mood swing. She's wearing a dress made of petals and shadow, smiling like she knows what you did last summer and is totally chill about it. Mostly, she gestures to the seeds. Choose wisely. No pressure. You remember your mythology. Persephone kidnapped by Hades, queen of the underworld, doomed to return every year because she ate pomegranate seeds down there. Depending on which myth version you believe, she ate 3, 6, or maybe just 1. Scholars still argue if she was tricked, complicit, or just really hungry. You stare at the seeds. You're already seated at Olympus's most unstable dinner table. What's one more mythic risk? You eat a seed, sweet, tart, juicy, then everything changes. Your vision fades into a swirling collage of autumn leaves, withered vines, frost-covered fields, and birds flying south. Time dilates. Your spine tightens. You feel the tilt of the earth, the length of shadows, the shortening of days. You taste seasons, second seed. You pop it in your mouth. Now you feel rebirth, budding flowers. Morning dew. That crisp smell right before spring actually commits to existing. You smell soil, green shoots, and optimism. You sneeze pollen. Each seed is a season, a sensory cycle. The third one is summer. You're sweating. Your skin smells like sun. You hear bees somewhere in your molars. There's watermelon on your tongue, sunscreen in your soul. Fourth, winter. You are a snowflake, unique, cold, briefly dramatic. Persephone watches silently. No judgment, no applause. Fifth seed. You hesitate. Your stomach makes a noise that sounds like a warning in ancient Greek. You eat it anyway, and now you feel time itself, not in minutes or hours, but in pulses. The way a forest sleeps. The way vines stretch slowly toward the sun. You realize how rushed everything usually feels. You are, in this moment, on plant time. Historians often gloss over Persephone's duality. To some, she's just Hades's bride. To others, she's the embodiment of seasonal change, life and death in balance. Her food? Naturally, it's a cycle in edible form. There's a fragment from the Eleusinian Mysteries hinting that her pomegranate seeds were actually metaphysical anchors, bite-sized contracts with nature's rhythm. You believe it. The sixth seed remains on the plate, glowing faintly, whispering something about January. You pause. Persephone steps closer. One more, and things might get cyclical. Cyclical how? You ask warily. She smiles cryptically. You'll see me again. You consider. Then, like every protagonist in every tragicomic myth before you, you eat it. The world turns. You're briefly in a cave, then a meadow, then an icy river, then back in your chair, gasping, mouth full of the scent of harvest festivals and mourning cloaks. You look down. The plate is empty, the seeds gone. The table has shifted slightly, not in distance, but season. The air is now autumn crisp. Someone's wearing a scarf. You touch your chest. Your heartbeat now beats in quarters. Spring, summer, fall, winter. Across the table, Hermes nods. You just synced with the agricultural calendar, bold. Your breath fogs briefly as the last of the winter seed settles in your lungs. You exhale slowly, tasting time itself. Persephone offers a nod of respect. Then she turns, petals rustling, shadows trailing, and vanishes into a door that wasn't there before. You look around. The gods are moving a little slower now, as if the feast, like the year, is approaching its twilight. You sit with the last of the pomegranate in your throat, feeling not just full, but rooted. You've just internalized the seasons, your heart now thumping in 4 distinct agricultural beats, when a centaur glides in carrying what appears to be a leather-wrapped jug shaped like a liver with ambitions. It sloshes faintly, glowing with a gentle amber hue. The centaur nods, hands it to you, and gallops off without a word. "This one's mine," comes a deep, calm voice behind you. You turn to see Chiron, the centaur healer, philosopher, teacher of heroes. His hair is streaked with wisdom. His breath smells faintly of eucalyptus and existential therapy. He settles beside you, offering a small stone cup. "Medicinal mead," he says, "a blend of herbs, honey, and memory." You pour yourself a modest portion. The scent alone makes you feel more hydrated. Hints of lavender, mint, and what can only be described as ancient regret cured with time. You sip. It's warm, not fiery, not intense, just healing. Like the moment after a good cry, or the stretch after a long nap. The mead glides down. Your throat like a lullaby in liquid form. Immediately your shoulders relax. Your spine unknots. A pain you didn't realize you'd been carrying since middle school dissolves like sugar in tea. "You'll feel the layers soon," Chiron murmurs. "It's brewed to unlock both trauma and tea time." Your second sip tastes like your best childhood memory. Your third tastes like an apology you were owed but never received, and the closure that came anyway. Chiron watches you closely, not with judgment, but with a therapist's knack for spotting when someone is about to emotionally unravel over fermented honey. "Let it settle," he says. You set the cup down. Your fingers tingle, not from intoxication, but from clarity. Historians often treat Chiron as the odd one out, gentle, cerebral, a healer among warriors. But in some obscure Orphic hymns, there's mention of his elixirs of reckoning, drinks brewed during lunar eclipses and meant to help demigods process their complex family dynamics. You're not a demigod, but you do suddenly remember that awkward family dinner from 2012 in uncomfortable detail. A nearby nymph offers you a cracker. You decline. You're still processing the moment when your mead suddenly changes flavor, now sharper, more piney. You inhale and smell juniper ash and the unmistakable scent of ancient battlefields. That's the warrior note, Chiron, he says. Designed to help you face what you fear. You stare into your cup. It swirls. You see a flash of something, a decision you've avoided, a truth you've softened. It vanishes, leaving you with an odd calm. Do I have to drink the you? Whole thing? You ask, half hoping the answer is no. Chiron smiles. Only as much as you can carry. You nod. You drink the rest. Your pulse steadies. Your breathing deepens. The world feels slower now, not dull, just deliberate. Focused. Across the table, Dionysus is trying to swap his wine for your mead. Chiron blocks him with a single raised eyebrow. It works. Your cup is refilled without you noticing. This time the flavor is floral, honeysuckle, elderflower, chamomile. You taste quiet mornings, well-earned rest, a day when no one needed anything. From you, this mead doesn't intoxicate. It reveals, it doesn't numb, it names. Each flavor carries a story, each sip a reckoning. You close your eyes. For a brief, radiant second, you feel like your soul got a tune-up. When you open them again, Chiron is gone. Only the cup remains, empty now, but warm to the touch. You sit back, full, not with food, but with resolve. Healed just a little, calibrated. Your hands no longer tremble from nectar. Your tongue no longer tastes lightning. Your mind is clear, your body steady. This might be the first course that didn't almost kill you, and it's the one you needed most. You're still basking in the gentle afterglow of Chiron's liquid therapy when your next course arrives, like a whisper in velvet. The lights dim, the air cools, and a hush falls over the table. A tray glides silently before you, carried by a figure who may or may not have been there the whole time. The plate is obsidian black, rimmed with stars that move if you squint. In the center, a dessert. It's small, delicate and dark, something between a tart and a spell. A swirl of midnight mousse, topped with a single edible violet and a dusting of what might be comet fragments. Morpheus sends his regards, the server says, voice like falling sand. A dream-touched dessert. Consume with caution. You take the smallest possible bite. Immediately, your eyelids flutter. Not sleep, dream. The kind of dream that feels like it was designed just for you, where the logic of the waking world dissolves and the rules change without warning. The mousse is soft, cool and bittersweet, chocolate and shadow, vanilla and secrets. It dissolves on your tongue like fog on a lake, and then you're somewhere else. You're walking through a golden hallway that stretches into infinity, lined with doors labeled in your own handwriting. Each door leads to a different moment you once imagined, a perfect day that never happened, a fantasy you've long since forgotten, a version of you who took the other path. You're dreaming, fully, but also still sitting in your chair. Morpheus, the god of dreams, rarely made appearances in Olympus lore, but when he did, it was to deliver messages while you slept. Is food? Naturally, it puts you halfway into REM, but with a side of surrealist patisserie. There's an ancient rumor recorded by a wandering philosopher in Alexandria. that one bite of Morpheus's dessert could allow you to dream lucidly for the rest of your life, but only if you could eat it without blinking. You blinked. Of course you did. Your second bite is deeper. The mousse now tastes like nostalgia wrapped in starlight. You're suddenly in a childhood room you haven't seen in years. Everything is smaller but perfect. The window still creaks. The air still smells like books and boredom. You glance around the feast table. Everyone is shifting slightly, their eyes half closed, smiles flickering across their faces. Even Hera has leaned back, brows relaxed. Ares is drooling into his napkin. This, of course, isn't food, it's lullaby in solid form. You look down at the final bite. It pulses gently. You hesitate, then eat it. The room fades. You find yourself floating, not falling, not flying, just existing in a comfortable void, like the part of sleep where your body forgets its own weight. You feel safe. You hear laughter. Your heartbeat sounds like a drum played softly by a friend. Then the world returns, as quietly as it left. You open your eyes. Your spoon is still in your hand. Your dessert is gone. Everyone else is slowly blinking awake, rubbing temples, sighing softly. Across the table, a tiny note has appeared beside your plate. It reads, "You dreamed well. Morpheus." Historians have little to say about dream desserts. Most scrolls dismiss it as poetic metaphor, but a few strange texts hint that certain flavors, when consumed at the right hour under divine circumstances, could thin the veil between sleep and reality. You believe it. That wasn't a dessert. That was a door. You feel calm now, softer, like someone just pressed the reset button on your anxiety. Even Dionysus has curled up like a cat in his chair, purring quietly, a grapevine wrapped around his shoulders like a blanket. You exhale, long and deep. If sleep had a flavor, you now know what it tastes like. As the dream haze gently lifts, the atmosphere shifts again, darker, quieter, and just a touch unnerving. A breeze stirs, even though the room is sealed. The candles flicker, shadows lengthen, something rustles behind you, like silk being dragged across velvet. Then, without a word, a small obsidian tray is placed in front of you. On it, a single pastry, charcoal black, round with faint silver speckles that shimmer like distant stars. It's Nyx's midnight snack. There's no garnish, no syrup, no poetic drizzle, just a dark, soft bun that seems to absorb light. You're not even sure if it's food or a minor black hole pretending to be one. "Eat it," whispers a voice that doesn't belong to anyone in the room. You stare. Nyx, the primordial goddess of night, older than the gods themselves, is rarely seen, barely spoken of, and usually not the type to bring snacks. But when she does, you pay attention, you pick up the pastry. It's surprisingly light, warm, almost breathing. You take a bite. The outer layer is pillowy and soft, like biting into fog. Then the filling hits. Dark chocolate, dates, something. Vaguely spicy. It's rich, deep, and unexpectedly cold at the core, like someone stirred in liquefied moonlight. Immediately the lights dim, not just the chandeliers, everything. The shadows expand and grow quiet. Sound drops out, like someone muted the background of the universe. You take another bite. A memory emerges, not yours, but ancient. You're standing in the cosmos before stars existed. You hear a lullaby sung by nothingness. You are the darkness. Between galaxies, across the table someone mutters, "Not again." Their voice echoes unnaturally. You blink. The room snaps back, but not quite to normal. For a moment, you can see everyone's shadow stretching infinitely behind them, trailing off into unknown realms. Nyx's dessert doesn't aim to impress. It reminds you that there are forces older than Olympus, older than Earth, older than light. Historians don't agree on much when it comes to Nyx. Some say she birthed sleep and death. Others claim she existed before time itself. A few odd scrolls mention a sacred nightbread that brings silence where there was noise, rest where there was motion. You understand now. This pastry isn't to nourish, it's to pause. A third bite, you stop breathing just for a moment, not in panic, in awe. You're held in a perfect stillness, like the second before a snowfall. No fear, no thought, just night. When you exhale, you smell jasmine, ink, and the distant ozone of a thunderstorm waiting in the wings. The pastry is gone. You don't remember finishing it. Your plate is clean. Your hands are steady. Your mind, quiet. For the first time, since you arrived at this chaotic divine banquet, your thoughts are hushed. Even Ares is frozen in place. Aphrodite stares into her empty wine glass. Hermes is doing math in his head, and not on purpose. The night has touched everyone. A tiny slip of starlight appears on your plate, just a speck. You touch it, and it vanishes. You don't know what it was, but you feel blessed, or perhaps warned, because night is not evil, but it is not tame. You sit back. The stars overhead blink more brightly now. A gentle hush wraps around the table like a shawl. Even the wind is holding its breath. You've eaten darkness, and it was beautiful. The silence left by Nyx is thick, like velvet draped over your thoughts. Just when you think the meal might be ending, or that perhaps you've been gently tucked into a pocket of the cosmos forever, a sudden pop breaks the stillness. It's pink, it's sparkly, and it's hovering over your plate like a bubblegum valentine with questionable motives. "Hi!" chirps a voice that sounds like flutes and flirtation. You glance up. Eros, god of love, chaos, and wildly inappropriate timing, stands before you, blowing kisses at nothing and handing out candy like a celestial Cupid who raided a Lisa Frank sticker factory. On your plate now, a delicate tower of pastel candies. Heart-shaped, spiral-twisted, sugar-dusted, they shimmer in iridescent hues that don't exist in the mortal rainbow. The dish is labeled Candy of Complication. You read the tiny inscription beneath. Effects may include infatuation, introspection, and poetic oversharing. Chew responsibly, great. You pick the tamest one, a pale blue spiral that smells like roses and TV crushes. You take a nibble, bam! Your brain fills with love, not for a person, but for your own shadow. You're suddenly obsessed with how mysterious it is. It's followed you everywhere. It knows all your secrets. It never judges. Across the table, Hermes snorts. Phase 1, classic projection candy. You blink. You're now certain your spoon has a deep, sensual soul. You set it down carefully. The second candy tastes like vanilla and violin solos. You see a stranger across a crowded train station. You fall in love. You imagine their whole life, who they were, who they could have been with you. Then they disappear, and you mourn them deeply. They never existed. Eros grins. That one's called Melancholy Meet Cute. Aphrodite claps politely. A classic. Third candy, passion fruit and wildfire. Your heartbeat triples. You feel an urgent need to write poetry, even though you haven't written anything but passive-aggressive emails since college. You whisper a line to your napkin. It folds itself, embarrassed. Eros lounges on the back of your chair, chin in hand. So, are we feeling emotionally open yet? You don't answer. You're trying to recover from the fourth candy, which caused you to remember every crush you ever had, from fictional characters to that weird phase with your dentist. The fifth. Candy is red and throbbing gently. You hesitate. Love is messy, Eros says, plucking one from your plate and eating it whole. Sometimes, so is candy. You chew. You are now deeply, irrationally in love with the idea of being in love. The air feels romantic. The breadbasket looks romantic. You nearly propose to your own reflection in the polished spoon. Historians are divided on how seriously to take Eros. Some portray him as mischievous but harmless. Others describe him as the most dangerous force in the universe, unpredictable, potent, and fundamentally irrational. There's an obscure Corinthian fragment that refers to the sugar that shatters empires, which feels oddly accurate right now. The sixth candy is colorless but heavy in your palm. You pop it in. Silence. This one's different. You suddenly remember a moment of real, quiet love. Someone waiting for you without being asked. A kindness, a shared laugh in a car at night. Nothing dramatic, just real. You open your eyes. The table's a bit softer now. Everyone's slower, more contemplative. Even Ares looks like he might be feeling something. Probably indigestion, but still. Eros winks. It's not all fireworks. Sometimes it's just steady. You sit back, heart humming with a strange cocktail of nostalgia, affection, and the urge to text someone you probably shouldn't. The candies dissolve into mist, leaving your plate clean and your emotional stability gently fried. You've been seduced, serenaded, shaken, and slightly sugar-buzzed, and as Eros twirls away, trailing sparkles, you're left with a bittersweet truth. Love is complicated, even in candy form. Just when you think you've survived the emotional roller coaster of Eros's candy, the table starts to tremble, not ominously, but with flair. A breeze flutters through the hall, though the windows are still closed. Trumpets, or possibly kazoo-enhanced lyres, sound in the distance. Two enormous cakes are rolled into the room on gilded trolleys, one sculpted like a golden peacock, the other like a giant seashell with pearls made of frosting. The room splits into polite chaos. Hera and Aphrodite have both entered the arena. Welcome, Hermes announces with glee, to the bake-off showdown. You suddenly realize you've been drafted into the role of judge. The gods lean in, eager. The room now smells like vanilla, almonds, pride, and just a hint of pettiness. Hera's cake arrives first. It's tiered, symmetrical, and polished like a royal decree. Each layer bears intricate carvings, laurel leaves, matrimonial oaths, and tiny edible thrones. One corner features a frosting scene of her wedding to Zeus. The cake doesn't just look elegant, it commands respect. Aphrodite's creation rolls in with a slight sparkle and what might be mood lighting. It's less a cake and more a romantic fever dream, rosewater sponge soaked in honeyed champagne, layers filled with fig cream, strawberries, and what appears to be edible lace. A tiny candy cherub flirts with your fork. You are very afraid. You're handed a tasting plate with a slice from each. You start with Hera's. It's dense but moist, structured like a temple. The flavors are deep. Almond, lemon, and tradition. You taste power, legacy, a very well-drafted prenup. You nod politely. Your back straightens of its own accord. Refined, Hera says smugly. Next, Aphrodite. The fork glides through the sponge like a whisper. One bite and your mouth is flooded with sweetness and seduction. It's airy, decadent, and just slightly irresponsible. The cream has a texture that suggests it knows how to text you at 2 a.m. with flawless grammar. You stare into space for a moment after swallowing. Across the table, Dionysus fans himself. Ares is pretending not to blush. You're asked to give your verdict. You panic. Both. Excellent, you say diplomatically, in radically different emotional registers. Hera narrows her eyes. Aphrodite winks. The cake cherub flexes its biceps at you. Historians rarely cover divine bake-offs, though there is a curious footnote in a minor Thessalian myth about the Great Pudding Duel, allegedly hosted by Hephaestus. It ended in a frosting-based flood and 3 new constellations. What they do agree on is that when gods bake, they do so with allegory. Hera's cake is loyalty, duty, the quiet dignity of a 30-year marriage with excellent tax returns. Aphrodite's is passion, abandon, and that one weekend in Santorini you never talk about. Your stomach, unfortunately, loves them both. Suddenly the cakes start moving. Hera's begins rotating slowly, revealing hidden fondant columns inside. Aphrodite's emits a puff of sugar dust shaped like a heart that winks at you. The gods cheer. Apollo starts a chant. Even Nyx, from the shadows, offers a polite golf clap. A small twist. The last bite of each cake is enchanted. Hera's offers a fleeting vision of an arranged royal wedding, formal, harmonious, slightly terrifying. Aphrodite's gives you a momentary flirtation with a stranger who may or may not be the concept of longing itself. You're sweating. Still with us? Hermes asks. Barely, you whisper, staring at your fork like it just confessed a crime. Cakes are cleared. The gods debate. You quietly sip water, wondering if any mortal digestive system has ever survived back-to-back divine emotional symbolism in baked form. You probably just consumed more metaphors than calories. Still, you can't help but smile. You've judged the unjudgeable. And you didn't get turned into a pastry. That's a win. The air thickens. Not with smoke or magic this time, but with the unmistakable aroma of sizzling meat. A spicy, savory haze rolls in, wrapping around your face like a cloak of bold decisions and probable gastrointestinal consequences. A low drumbeat starts up in the background. Flutes join in, slightly off-key. Then the smell hits full force, grilled flesh, unidentifiable spices, and the unmistakable tang of mischief. Welcome to the satyr's questionable barbecue. They arrive in a herd, shirtless, barefoot, and wearing flower crowns that are definitely not FDA approved. The satyrs carry skewers the size of baseball bats, each one loaded with charred meat, dripping fruit, and the occasional item that looks back at you. Barbecue time, shouts one, doing a cartwheel into a serving cart. The table recoils slightly. Your plate is soon piled high with skewers, one with roasted lizard tail and pineapple chunks, another with something labeled pan-seared ambivalence, and a third that's just a string of meatballs wearing sunglasses. They wink. Hermes leans over. The satyrs cook with enthusiasm, not recipes. You nod slowly, examining a skewer that appears to be partially burnt scroll. You take a tentative bite from the safest-looking piece, grilled mushroom and what? Might be lamb, smoky, spiced, slightly chaotic, surprisingly good. Then you chew, oh no, it's spicy. Not fire spicy, uncertainty spicy, like your taste buds are being chased by a metaphor. It's not bad, it's just emotionally unstable. A satyr pours something into your goblet from a jug labeled "Don't." It fizzes in 6 colors. You ignore it. For now, you try a second skewer, this one with a chunk of meat that's either bore or regret. It's tender, rich, and carries the unmistakable flavor of a bad decision made in a hot spring with strangers. You swallow carefully. Historically, satyrs weren't known for fine dining, more for drinking, fluting, and frolicking, but some lesser-known Greek rural tales describe their feasts as primal, joyful, and absolutely reckless. It was food as celebration. Food as dare. One skewer you try tastes like overcooked nostalgia, another like carnival food served during a thunderstorm. One bite contains what you're pretty sure is a grilled fig, a shrimp, and an old memory of your dad doing karaoke. Across the table, Dionysus is hooting and throwing ribs like confetti. Ares is trying to eat a skewer whole. Aphrodite is fanning herself with a kebab fan that may or may not be legal in several realms. You chew a piece that tastes like rebellion. There's definitely cinnamon in there, also possibly envy. Then, a particularly suspicious-looking skewer. Grilled peaches, marinated date chunks, and something that glows faintly. You take the tiniest nibble. Instantly, your ears ring with music that sounds like a goat playing a saxophone. You hiccup, and glitter puffs from your nostrils. Your arms want to dance, your legs want to run, your pancreas wants to lie down. Hermes throws you a napkin with a drawing of a centaur laughing on it. It helps, somehow. One obscure text from the Bacchic Mysteries mentions a feast of chaos meats, prepared without ceremony, inspired by impulse, and always resulting in one minor fire. You're currently on track for 2. A satyr leans over and offers you a grilled pear wrapped in prosciutto and hope. You decline. You've had enough. Your plate is a battlefield of bones, skewers, and sauce. The table is sticky with flavor, laughter, and that odd wine no one remembers consenting to. You feel full, not physically, existentially. The satyrs erupt into a dance. One leaps over the table. Another plays the spoons on his own knees. You lean back, greasy and grateful. The barbecue wasn't refined, it wasn't safe, but it was real, and also your fork might be on fire. The smoke from the satyr barbecue hasn't even fully cleared when a loud thunk shakes the table. You look up, blinking through the haze, and instantly wish you hadn't. Standing before you is a cyclops. 7 feet tall, wearing an apron stitched with the phrase, "Kiss the one eye," holding a steaming cauldron large enough to bathe a minotaur in. His single eye twitches with excitement, or maybe madness. "Dinner," he says proudly. What he presents is not a stew. It's a declaration of war in broth form. The bowl placed in front of you sloshes with thick purplish-brown liquid. Floating in it are uneven chunks of eggplant, something fibrous and green, and what might be a boiled shoe. The smell, like an overcooked ratatouille wearing cologne made from regret. You pick up your spoon. It resists. Hephaestus leans over. "I taught him to cook, once. Regretted it. Immediately." You stir. A piece of something spiny bobs to the surface. You push it back under one bite. It's awful. It's like someone tried to make baba ganoush during an earthquake using motor oil and despair. It's earthy, yes, but in the way dirt is earthy, literal dirt. Across the table, Dionysus whispers, "Just pretend it's a rustic fusion." You chew. There's texture. Too much texture. It shifts. The eggplant is chewy, the broth is lumpy, and there's something in there that hums when you bite it. The Cyclops beams at you. Good, yes, you smile weakly. So bold, he nods proudly. Family recipe, from mountain, cooked over volcanic vent, stirred with tree branch. That explains a lot. In mythology, Cyclopes are rarely praised for their culinary finesse. They forged thunderbolts and harassed Odysseus, not exactly a background in fine dining, but some obscure mountain lore describes Cyclopean feasts as ingredient forward, meaning they didn't know what herbs were. There's even a dubious Pythagorean scroll that claims Cyclops cuisine was the earliest form of extreme eating, where meals doubled as tests of courage, teeth strength, and post-digestive survivability. You make it halfway through your bowl. Then your spoon changes color. You stop. Your stomach rumbles ominously, as if it's writing a formal complaint. You look around. Ares has finished his bowl and is now punching a tree for flavor reinforcement. Athena is studying hers like it's a battlefield. Apollo is using his as a still life subject. No one is really enjoying it, but no one dares insult it either. You attempt another bite. It slaps back. Hermes slides a note across the table. Tap out now or risk becoming part of the stew. You push the bowl gently aside. The Cyclops gives you a thumbs up the size of a bread loaf. Good mortal, you strong, not weep like last one. You try to respond, but your taste buds are still busy filing trauma reports. The stew is cleared. The bowl leaves behind a faint imprint on the table, possibly a burn, possibly a memory. Your breath smells like eggplant and post-apocalyptic soup kitchen, and somehow you feel changed. Not better, not worse, just different, like you've licked the edge of madness and survived. You sit back, napkin trembling. In your lap, the next course couldn't possibly be worse, could it? You sit very still, breathing shallowly, letting the Cyclopean stew settle into the bottom layer of your soul, where questionable decisions go to ferment. The gods are quieter now. Even Dionysus has stopped singing. The room is dimmer, as though Olympus itself is bracing for something. Then the table tilts slightly. No, not physically. Metaphysically. Reality shudders, and in walks a man in a toga made entirely of contradictions. Your host for the next course. A figure that flickers between handsome and horrifying, composed and deeply hungover. He introduces himself only as the hangover that sips back. What he brings is not food. It's an aftertaste. A silver carafe appears before you, filled with shimmering liquid. The label reads, Nectar, the morning after edition. You don't drink it. You already did. Remember section 3? This is the aftermath. Your tongue curls slightly in protest. Your vision blurs around the edges. The walls breathe. This is the nectar hangover, and it has come to collect. You lean forward. Your stomach mutters dark prophecies. Your mouth tastes like sunburned honey. Your eyebrows feel sticky. Nectar doesn't just fade, Hermes whispers. It lingers and mutates. The gods watch with amused detachment as the symptoms unfold. First, colors get too loud. That's right, colors. The golds are yelling. The reds are whining. Your toga fabric hums in E-flat. Second, time becomes unreliable. You're now convinced 5 minutes have passed. It's been 32 seconds. Third, existential dread, but fancy. You're not just worried you said something dumb to a nymph earlier. You're now concerned about the molecular ethics of your entire digestive history. Across the table, Dionysus raises a glass and yells, "Who has regrets?" Everyone raises a hand except Hera, who raises one eyebrow instead. You feel reality, fracture slightly. A crack forms in your perception and lets in a very vivid memory of the time you once tried to parallel park for 12 minutes in front of your crush. You wince. Then the fourth stage hits. Clairvoyant indigestion. You hiccup and suddenly know things. You see the future. Just flashes, a talking dog, an unpaid library fine, a beach made entirely of toast. Then it's gone, and your hiccup smells. Like starfruit, you ask no questions. Historians never recorded the nectar aftermath, but then again, most mortals never lived to describe it. A rogue scholar once claimed that nectar didn't just grant temporary immortality, it inserted small pieces of Olympus into you, pieces that didn't always fit. You're now inclined to agree. A faun brings you a recovery cracker. You take it, gratefully. It crumbles into your lap and begins humming Don't Stop Believin'. You try not to cry. The gods chuckle. You can't tell if they're amused or just relieved it's not their turn. Hermes hands you a small bag labeled reality. Realignment dust. You inhale it cautiously. It smells like mint and math. The buzzing fades. Slowly, the table returns to normal. The walls stop pulsing. Your spoon quits vibrating. You've survived the nectar aftershock. Barely. And now, as you sit panting, slightly, glowing, and questioning your entire concept of thirst, a dryad places a cold towel on your neck. Everyone thinks they want divine drinks, she murmurs. Until they do. You nod. No more nectar. Not in this life, not in the next. You sip. Water. It's just water, and it's the most beautiful thing you've ever tasted. You're not sure how long you sit there, lovingly cradling a cup of basic mortal water like it's a long-lost friend when a tremor passes through your core. Not external this time, internal. Something's happening. It's subtle at first. A low rumble in your stomach, a shift in your spine. Then your midsection twists, gurgles, shifts again. Oh no, you glance around. No one else is reacting, except Hermes, who's watching you with the expression of someone who knows a train wreck when he sees one. Divine digestion, he says, nodding solemnly. Kicks in around course 28. You've officially reached the dilemma stage. What's the dilemma? You ask, clutching your abdomen like it's plotting against you? He shrugs. Your body is mortal. Your food, not so much. Suddenly, your insides contract in a way that feels philosophical. You're not digesting a meal. You're digesting ideas, emotions, interdimensional ingredients. One of your kidneys starts writing poetry. You burp. A tiny burst of glitter escapes. A dryad nearby gasps. They're sparking! It's happening! What's happening, you ask? Your stomach's trying to become a demigod, Athena answers matter-of-factly, as she casually stirs her tea with a dagger. You stare blankly. My what? She nods. It's common. You've consumed about 14 mythic substances. Your digestive tract is now attempting to ascend. You double over slightly. Not in pain yet, but in discomfort. The kind that makes you question your own anatomy. Your liver mutters something in ancient Greek. Your spleen throws a tantrum. Your pancreas emits a warning tone. Your stomach glows. A small face forms on your belly. It looks suspiciously like a baby Hercules. It flexes. Hermes leans in. If it speaks, name it quickly. Otherwise, it chooses for itself. You can't process this. One particularly obscure myth, often dismissed as metaphor, speaks of mortals who feasted with gods and grew divine inside. A euphemism most assumed referred to character growth. Now you realize it was literal. Your digestion is no longer just biological, it's metaphysical. Concepts are being processed, deeds, maybe even karmic debt. Your spine cracks, pleasantly. You sit up 2 inches taller. Your posture improves. Your third chakra winks at you. I think it's stabilizing, Hestia says gently. Just breathe. You do. Slowly, the divine digestion settles. The glow fades. Your belly deflates slightly. The face dissolves. A tiny echo whispers, "I'll be back." You hope it's joking. Across the table, Dionysus offers you a pickled olive. You wave it off. Never again. A faun hands you a cup of what she calls gut peace tea. You sip. It tastes like peppermint, chamomile, and second chances. You realize something incredible. You survived the Olympian digestive trial. Your mortal system has adapted. Your body isn't divine, but it's been touched. You're not the same person who took that first bite of ambrosia. You've grown, mutated emotionally and gastrointestinally. You exhale slowly, a little singed, a little transcendent. Your stomach lets out a final gurgle. You pat it gently. You did good, buddy, and for a moment you swear it pats you back. You're sipping what is hopefully your final cup of gut peace tea when the room brightens, not in light, but in energy. A shift, a lightening of atmosphere. You feel it in your joints, in your shoulders, in the absence of impending culinary doom. A simple plate is set before you. No sparkles, no scrolls, no celestial vapor. It holds a sandwich, 2 slices of soft, whole-grain bread, 1 humble smear of butter, a slice of cheese, possibly cheddar. There is a single sprig of parsley. Not for flair, probably just because someone didn't feel like sweeping it off the cutting board. Aphrodite squints at it. Is that food? Yes, Hestia says. It's real food. The gods lean in, confused, intrigued, borderline, offended. You, however, nearly weep. It's the first normal thing you've seen in hours. There are no singing olives, no cursed side effects, no ingredients that were picked by starlight on a blood moon. Just a sandwich. You pick it up. It's light. Not floating, not pulsing, just soft, real bread with the faint smell of bakery. Shelves and rational decisions. You take a bite. Oh, it is perfect, mild, solid, comforting. The bread is soft with the tiniest crust crunch. The cheese isn't immortal. It's not even particularly sharp, but it exists. In harmony with the butter, your entire nervous system exhales. The gods stare, bewildered. Zeus leans over. There's no ambrosia in it? Nope, you mumble, chewing happily. No enchanted aioli. Nope, not even solar fermented mustard with notes of epiphany. No, just sandwich. He blinks. Is this what mortals actually eat? You nod. Athena seems vaguely insulted. Dionysus is poking his own slice with a straw. Ares is trying to understand why his doesn't bleed. Hera, surprisingly, looks intrigued. It's unthreatening, she says. Exactly. You wash it down with milk, just milk. Cool, clean, dairy-based normalcy. No dreams, no divine cows, no prophecies, just calcium. For the first time in the entire banquet, your stomach purrs. You look around. The gods are oddly quiet. Some are nibbling cautiously at their own sandwiches. Others are watching you, like anthropologists studying an alien eating ritual. You don't care. You're at peace. This sandwich is a return to earth, to sanity, to reality. You are a human with a sandwich and a full belly. The journey is nearly complete, and as if summoned by your relief, a small silver tray appears beside you, carrying a folded note. You open it. From the pantry of Hestia. When the world is too strange, eat something familiar. You nod. That's wisdom. And good. Marketing. Your plate is cleared. The table begins to dissolve, not vanish, just gently unravel. The feast is ending. You feel lighter, wiser, full. A napkin folds itself onto your lap. A cup of chamomile arrives. The lights dim. You've walked through myths, tasted madness, digested divinity. And now you've come home. Home is cheese, bread, and the knowledge that not everything needs to sparkle to matter. The last of the crumbs are swept away. The godly chatter fades into soft murmurs. A lyre plays a single meandering note that sounds like a sigh. You're full, not just in the stomach, but in the soul. And it's time. Time to reflect. Time to ask yourself, what in Hades just happened? You lean back in your chair. It sighs with you. The divine banquet table is clearing, and with it, the strange gravitational pull that's kept you tethered to this Olympus-sized dream. Across the table, Hermes leans in, grinning. So, what did you learn? You take a deep breath. You learned that ambrosia tastes like immortality and poor impulse control. That nectar rewires your DNA and your Spotify algorithm. That the gods use food not just to impress, but to challenge, seduce, shame, enlighten, and confuse. You learned that. Zeus's thunder-gilled salmon could power a small village or a lightning rod. Hades's tapenade remembers your darkest secrets. Aphrodite's fig spread writes fan fiction about your love life. Dionysus's wine will have you making questionable best friends with a houseplant. Artemis's forest platter might actually bite you back. Ares's bread is both a weapon and a warning. Poseidon's seafoam sorbet gave you hydrological flashbacks. Apollo's honeycomb made your thoughts glow in hexameter. Athena's olives forced you into a mini midlife crisis. Hera's charcuterie board judged you harder than your mom ever did. Demeter's grain bowl sprouted microtherapy in your colon. Hephaestus's cheese melt welded your tongue to Valhalla. Hermes's snack pack included time travel and maybe tax evasion. Hestia's soup wrapped you in a hug you didn't know you needed. Pan's mushrooms made you dance with your subconscious. Persephone's pomegranate taught you the seasons from the inside out. Chiron's mead excavated your deepest truths and left chamomile. Morpheus's dessert let you dream your childhood again. Nyx's midnight snack reminded you that darkness is sacred. Eros's candy made you fall in love with a chair leg. Hera and Aphrodite's bake-off almost started a civil war inside your mouth. The satyr barbecue should never be legally permitted. The Cyclops stew made your stomach grow a personality. The nectar hangover gave your pancreas spiritual insight. And your divine digestion, it almost ascended without you, and in the end, you asked for a sandwich, a plain sandwich, and it was the most profound thing you tasted all night. The gods are quiet now, content, no more competitions, no more transformations. Just a soft, shared knowing that this moment, this final lull, is the closing note of an eternal song. Hestia stands and gently claps her hands once. The plates vanish. The torches dim. The air stills. You feel okay. Then a final offering is brought to you, not food, not drink. A single slip of parchment rolled and tied with gold thread. On it, in calm script, you were brave to taste what you did. Remember, not everything powerful needs to be extraordinary. Sometimes what's plain is what saves you. You tuck the note into your pocket. You'll carry it with you, alongside everything else you've somehow impossibly survived. The gods nod. One by one they rise, vanish, fade. Only Hestia remains, tending the fire. "Sleep now," she whispers. "You've digested enough myth for one night." You lie back in your chair, eyes heavy, heart full. You have feasted with gods and lived to tell the tale. The fire crackles softly in the hearth, the last light in an otherwise quiet hall. The plates are gone, the chairs empty. Even the laughter has faded into a gentle memory, tucked away like a bedtime story you half remember from childhood. You're not cold. The warmth of the feast, of the stories, the flavors, the impossible experiences still lingers in your bones. The air is heavy with that golden silence that only comes after something truly magical. You breathe in, slowly. You're safe, fed, whole again. No visions, no singing utensils, no digestive revolts. Just the slow rise and fall of your chest, the steady beat of your heart reminding you that you made it through. The gods have returned to their corners of Olympus. They'll squabble again tomorrow, cook up new mischief, but for now they rest too. And you sleep, not just because you're tired, but because you earned it. Because your body has danced with dreams and thunder, and your spirit has tasted the stars. The chair beneath you feels softer now. Your head nods gently. The fire hums. Outside the window, the sky stretches on, vast and eternal, but for the first time tonight it doesn't feel overwhelming, it feels like home. So close your eyes, let your breath deepen and drift. You've had enough wonder for one night. Sweet dreams, hero.